I'm Nicole Jones, host of Mediocre to Masterful, a podcast teaching you how to go after your goals that you've pushed to the side. This is a resource to help you be fearless with your goals and familiar with the feeling of success. This podcast includes best practices to elevate your goals in multiple areas to help you pursue mastery over your life. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mediocre to Masterful. I am just over the moon with all the great responses I've been receiving so far on my podcast. Thank you guys. It's just been, and I've probably going to say this a number of times, a labor of love developing this podcast. So I thank you guys for all of your support, your kind words, and that I was, able to give you some inspiration, some motivation just by creating this platform. So thank you, everyone. I truly appreciate it. I still feel like I have more work to do, even though this is launched and, out there for people to listen to. I still feel like I have more room to grow, of course. I mean, I have never done a podcast. I have, never edited a podcast before this, before launching this. So it's a lot of new things are happening. And I'm really excited about this journey and where this is going to take me. And, a year from now, I'm excited what this will look like, how my voice will have changed throughout these mini podcasts. So more to come. But today's topic is about how your past plays into your purpose. There are endless debates about don't harp too much on your past, look forward to the future. And that's great. I have no arguments against that. That's how I live my life. But I also know that certain things will not come into fruition if I don't address some things that may have happened in my past, or if I realize that I have a lot of repetitive goals that are not really getting a lot of action, that I need to take a step back and look at what the heck is going on. Why are these goals not actually happening? Is there something that I'm not seeing here? And if if they are these repetitive goals that have not yet been achieved, what's going on? What do I need to evaluate? What past actions have, allowed me to stay at this same point and not allowing me to move forward in the direction that I want to go? So that's why I say, how your past plays into your purpose, because there might be some things that you still need to clean up and are actually holding you back from achieving that next level. And, you just have to address those things. So that's what I want to talk about today. And I feel like sometimes people may disassociate their vision for the future with what's going on or what has happened in their past. So, there basically is a connection there. And I want to be able to just talk through what that means when it comes to planning your goals and how you can address that. When you think about it, you have experienced different things in your life. And, the past it's not erased memories. Like, they still live with you. They have molded you in ways that have made you a better person. They have actually impacted your decision making because, once you have done one thing, you have experienced one instance, okay, next time I go around, I'm going to do this, or next time I'm going to hit up XYZ to help me with this situation because I remember in the past that didn't work too well. So let me reevaluate how I'm going to handle this in the future. So the past really does answer why we act or react the way that we do when it comes to developing goals and, our decision making. So in simpler terms, our past, it's really just growth. Our past is really growth, and it's allowing us to be able to not make the same bad decisions that we made in the past, or just be a better version of ourselves based on what has happened. It shapes our purpose in life. Taking moments to actually reflect will reveal that your past has been really nudging you all along towards some of the goals that you have today. You can start to see like a clearer connection between the past and your goal development. And by not recognizing this alignment, our goals will not flourish in a way that they should. We must understand the lessons of our past and honor the actual process towards our future. And really, if I had to give an example, it's basically like our goals are like a video game in which, when you're playing a video game, if it's a mission-driven video game, if you don't complete the mission, you cannot move to the next level. Like, the mission will basically repeat itself until you get it right. And if you think about it, our goals have the ability to do that same thing. If you have set goals for yourself in life, you basically will be repeating that same thing until you understand what the lesson is that needs to be learned within that task given to you by God, or that vision that given to you by God, or that you have created for yourself on your vision board. It's not going to happen if you don't understand what's going on, and you won't be able to reach that next level of success. It's because you need to understand what the life lesson is. If you are continuously repeating some of the same things, for instance, finances, you have a goal to save $1,000 in your savings account or whatever, and year over year you keep putting that as a goal for yourself and it's not happening, there's some deeper things that you need to take into account in terms of why that's not working out for you. And assess what's going on in your life, assess what has happened in your past, because the last 3 years that's been on your vision board, it hasn't come into fruition. So what's going on there? What do you need to dig deeper into? So those are some of the things that I'm going to discuss. And basically, I think I can just narrow it down into, 3 things of how can we ensure our goals can go from mediocre to masterful. And I've narrowed it down to 3 topics. Assess our goals list with our past. So taking those goals that have not budged at all for you and taking a look at, just evaluating that list. After that evaluation, we restructure our goals. So, assess the goals list, restructure the goals. What can we do to change it? And then thirdly, embrace the journey. Now, clearly, given the 3 pointers, this would be best practice after you have actually developed your goals. So you actually have goals listed out. That way you can get your thoughts on paper or wherever you write them down with a clear mind. Which leads me to another point before we actually dive into the three examples. Make sure your goals are written down somewhere and somewhere visible, only because it helps to become a constant reminder for you to be your best self. And a goal not written down is basically just a wish. Like, in the last time I checked, Genie wasn't granting no wishes. So your best bet is to make sure you have this somewhere where you can keep yourself accountable. And if you need to, share with, some of your friends, close family members, or whomever, to help you be productive in these goals that need a little extra nudge, basically, in achieving. After you've got that written down, take a few minutes to reflect and evaluate what it is that you want to do with these goals. Taking that extra pause for whatever reason just makes a huge difference in the development of your goals. That pause can be however long you need it to be to hone in, just a couple of hours, maybe a month. I'm kind of like cringing on a little month right there, but just don't let it turn into a phantom list, basically. And you just don't follow through on these goals, which is why you should place them somewhere where it's visible, like I mentioned before. Or you share this with someone so they can hold you accountable as well. For instance, I have mine in my office because that's where I feel most productive. I also have it on like a Google Drive, so I can go and check in if I need to and, check some things off. But it's just a constant reminder. You need to accomplish your dreams. Like, you got things you can do. Like, if you get some downtime, work towards these goals that you have been trying to break through for so long. So hopefully that helps with you being accountable, holding yourself accountable, and your friends holding you accountable as well. So the first point in evaluating how your past plays into your purpose, we have this group of goals or this one goal that just is not making any headway, and we want to assess our goals with our past. And it may sound a bit counterintuitive because, goal setting is all about forward movement. Yes, that's true. But one key reason doing this exercise works is so you don't continue to create goals that are unattainable. You don't keep creating goals that you have, zero to no energy to get through these goals, or you have no resources or people or anything to even help you with these goals, and you're still trying to figure out why you put this as a goal in your list anyway. So yes, that's why assessing your goals list is important, to make sure that we are not putting ourselves in a hurdle that we don't even know how we're going to run. The best example I can give you is from my own experience. So it was after college, just getting into my career. I had my, annual financial goals. And each year I fell short in my financial plan. It was a real fail, and it was really embarrassing. And the worst part is this was a repeated goal for me for about 2 to 3 years with little to no progress. But I was convinced. I kept telling myself, next year I'm going to do better with this. Next year it's going to be even better. Next year I'm going to finally get my stuff together and handle this financial goal for myself. And it wasn't. And honestly, if you want to put a title to it, that's insanity. Like, continuously thinking something is going to change and you keep doing the same things, the same patterns, and you think there's going to be any change. That's insanity, folks. Like, it's just not going to work. And I was not taking into account the in-between steps to help me reach my annual goal. I was not taking into account, some issues or a bad relationship I had with financial planning. Like, I was guilty of getting to those last few months of the year and basically saying to myself, I have not yet saved what I wanted to save for this goal, or have saved anything. And in some cases I was negative because I was just poor management financially. How am I going to make these financial plan goals? Like, I kept asking myself that at the end of the year, and it just was not working. Trying to cram what should have been, things I should have done throughout the year into only a few months. It just was not going to happen. How did I finally come to terms that I was not considering my actions and how the past played a part? Like what you hear? Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Mediocre to Masterful and on Twitter at M2Masterful. And when you check out our website, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter for freebies and information about upcoming podcasts and ways to master your goals. Well, I didn't find out on my own. Like, I knew that I had an issue with the financial plan, but it really had to take a rude awakening with my then boyfriend, now husband, had to get me in check. And I had to stop this mentality of, I got it, I know how to do this. I succeed in everything else in my life. I know what I'm doing. I'm responsible, blah, blah, blah. And I had to let go of my ego, basically, and recognize I didn't have it. I didn't have this part of my life under control. And I had to assess the situation, basically. And it took him really completely flat out embarrassing me and in my feelings. And I had to assess the situation. I couldn't achieve, the goal that I set out for myself. And I needed to find some sort of alignment with why my actions were not equating to what I'm telling myself in my mind I want to do. I had so many questions. I just felt like a complete failure, which honestly, I mean, I was, because I wasn't achieving what I wanted. So, naturally you feel like a failure. And I was just asking myself, why was I failing at this? Why couldn't I keep a budget? Why didn't I come to terms that I never knew how to budget? Honestly, why did I allow not so great practices I grew up learning to be my only way of thinking? Because, a lot of people are dealing with generational, curses or cycles where you just don't grow up in a household with, where you talk about finances, where you sit at the table and all have a discussion about, wealth and all that stuff. And it just, you just learn things that might not be the best based on your situation you grew up in. Whether you were, on Section 8 growing up, or, you had food stamps growing up, or, the whole rob Peter to pay Paul method. Like, there's just different things that you learn depending on the environment you grew up in from your parents that you think are normal or natural. And I think, the final question I asked myself is like, why did I continue to blame those instilled practices to continue to fail me? Like, all those things I just called out, why did I allow that to continue to fail me as I grew up, knowing that that wasn't the life that I want to live in terms of my finances? And these are all real questions, and you kind of makes you a little, squirmy or see a little bit, because it's just uncomfortable, because you feel like I should be at a different stage in my life where I should be better at this. And at that point, I just was not. And you may not need to dig as deep as I did in terms of, the financial story, as to why I was not able to achieve those goals of my financial plan. But I believe there's root to everything, and that may not be surface level. Like, you can't just, oh, okay, no, it was just, I didn't carry my checkbook around when I needed to pay a bill, or if anybody still uses checkbooks, or, just simple things. It wasn't surface level. It was something that I needed to dig a little bit deeper into. And, once you start digging a little bit deep into the past as to why certain goals are not activating the way that they should, once you get into that dirt, you will find the why. It may not be pretty and you might be embarrassed, but you will eventually get to it. And I think the key there is letting go of your ego, because I am a very type A person. I feel like if I have a goal to do something, I am going to achieve it. If I tell you I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. If I tell you I'm going to be there at this time, I will be there at this time. And I'm just naturally a great planner. I am just naturally, type A, overachiever. I just like to do my best. And that was just one area that I just really fell short in, and it wasn't a great feeling. Didn't feel good every time I put that on my goals list each year, and I'm still looking like, boo-boo the fool, because nothing is happening. And you can't allow your ego to get in the way of that if you are that same type of person. Like, if you think like I think in those terms, and you're something that you're failing at, you just have to come to terms with what that is and realize and recognize, you might need some work in that area. If you do need to narrow down some of your goals this way, this practice is drilling down by using the 5 whys. It's a practice that I've learned through my profession and I've read up on in self-improvement books, and it simply helps you zero in on the real issue at hand. So if you have some of the goals, or that one goal on your list that just isn't moving, ask yourself, 5 questions, 5 whys. Why isn't this working? Why didn't it work the last time? Why did I do it that way? Why didn't I ask for help? Just different things to help you narrow down What's going on there? So take a look at your list of goals. Do you have any, repeat offenders like I did? Really think about how the past helps or hinders you achieving that particular goal. You may have a goal to become a CEO because you are always the innovator, leader at work, and as long as you can remember, you have always humbly led the pack, basically. Maybe you want to practice selecting better food choices, eat healthier. Is it because the scale just revealed to you a weight that you just, are not happy with and you can't ignore it? Or you recognize there is a family line of health issues stem from bad food choices? Or let's say you're tired of the single life and you want to prepare yourself to be a wife, a husband in the future, and you recognize the people in your family are all single and are all single by way of divorce. Dig into your generational cycles. Ask your family questions. Generational cycles are real. I kind of touched on that with my own financial situation. And once you recognize them, it's really like an aha moment. And it's up to you to make a difference. Maybe it's not that route, but rather you need to change your lifestyle and express more self-love in order to attract the right person to reciprocate love back to you. I mean, that's a whole nother topic, and that's super deep. So we'll get onto that at another time. But that's real. Those are real questions you need to ask yourself, real self-evaluation that you need to consider. When you read or hear some of the most successful people in this world, you hear the story of their past, how certain situations, how their upbringing or experiences have shaped their outcome of their success. And had it not been for those moments, they would not be where they are today, serving in their purpose. So really do some self-reflection on what you're trying to achieve and why it's important to you. So let me circle back to the my personal experience, and basically after I put my bad habit on Front Street, now that I was able to identify my problems, I had to restructure my goals, which is the second point. Had to have a real heart-to-heart with my boyfriend, now husband, about the goals that I had set for myself financially, and really talk about what it is that I now need to do to make this attainable. Now that I know what my issues are from the past, why it wasn't working for me, this meant completely altering my financial plan. For me, this particular goal required accountability, and I needed that because there was no way I was going to be able to see change because I didn't know otherwise. I didn't know any better or what I needed to do to change it. So at this point, I just needed outside help. I needed somebody to stick it to me and basically say, okay, here's what you need to do because what you've been doing the past 3 or so years, it ain't working. So you may find out that's what you also need to do. You may find that there are some things you just cannot do alone, and that's okay. It's okay to ask for help, especially if you have friends or family members or people that you admire, or influencers that you admire. It is okay to ask for help. It is okay to purchase an online workshop or webinar to help you get through the hurdles that you can't get through by yourself. You cannot be afraid to ask for help. You cannot be afraid to be embarrassed or feel like you're going to be looked at as a failure. Again, to the point of removing ego, like you have to drop that. Like if you really want to be the best version of yourself and really see a change, you have really got to let go of what you think other people will think of you, knowing your bad habits or your hidden secrets or things that you are not great at or that you can't achieve. Even something as serious as financial planning. Like you cannot continue to live your life thinking, or making people think you got it like that, because you do not, and you need help. So, seek help, ask for help. This was a hard thing for me because I have been so independent. I have been the person who was seen as the responsible one, put together, and the thought of me not being able to handle a situation just did not make sense to me, because I am Nicole Jones. Like, I can achieve everything. I do my best in everything that I touch, and I did not. So, drop the habits, the bad habits, and let go of your ego in order to open doors for success on these goals that you want to achieve. With every success story, there is at least one other person who helped them succeed. Even in the darkest hour, a helping hand will always appear. And you just have to be willing to open yourself up to that and accept that help in order to receive that level of help. I don't know why I thought I was so error proof and achieving this goal, but I was failing myself time over time. Basically, there is a line between independence and your ego not wanting to be shattered. And honestly, humility is a teacher. So get it together, folks. I don't know how much more I can harp on that, but it's serious, and it's a real come to Jesus moment, come to terms with yourself, like really having a deep dive into your own self-development. At this point, the recognition of my downfall, I believe, looking back now, I transitioned from mediocre to masterful. I was able to fully commit to what it was I wanted to achieve. I got over that initial hurdle. I sought help, reinvented my direction, and, moved on to tackling debt in new ways and saving in new ways. Sometimes the reasons you're not achieving a goal is not because of other people. It's really just you, and you just need to get over yourself in order to achieve what you want. And in this case, it was me in the past. I didn't take into consideration. I was failing myself by not looking at the situation from all angles. And goals are not just a list you put on paper in hopes that you can get it accomplished in some magical way. It just does not work like that. You truly have to understand the desire behind what you're asking for. Be real with yourself and the level of commitment you're willing to give. Since I've embraced the journey, which is our final step, the journey of knowing how to be great with some things and then when to ask for help with others, of leaning on the past actions to assist me with goal development. Yes, I'm guilty of not aligning my goals with my commitment at that time. I wasn't being real with myself, and I didn't use the resources around me because that whole mentality of I got it, I can fix this, and I could not. I could be so much further financially at this point of my life, but I'm not because of pride. And if you have goals you want to achieve, reach out, ask for help. If you surround yourself with the right people, you will not be steered in the wrong direction. So if you have the same, problem as I did in terms of a goal financially and it's just not working, do not reach out to your friend or your family member who is also in the same predicament, they are also robbing Peter to pay Paul to get bills paid in the household. Do not reach out to that person, because what's going to happen is you just now created a pity party. And basically what you're going to do is vent to one another about, girl, I couldn't get this one done this month, but I was able to, pull off my cell phone bill, and, just don't. Unless you guys are going to a workshop together or you're going to attend a webinar together, go halvesies on a webinar online and, go to her house because she paid the internet bill. You can go over there and watch a webinar together. But do not call each other on the phone or text about, financial woes, because you're not going to get anywhere. Be real with yourself. Have a sense of commitment. And, not all goals are created equal, as I learned, because I was able to achieve everything else that I set for myself during that time, just not that one. And that particular goal needed a little bit more TLC, basically. I can no longer just write down a list and hope for the best. I needed monthly financial evaluations of my progress. And getting rid of that attitude of crunch time by the end of the year, which that wasn't really helping either. So I needed to dissect each goal, figure out which goals require the support of those closest to me or, experts in that area, or determine which goals meant I was breaking a generational cycle. If I dug a little bit deeper in assessing them, and think about how my past plays into my purpose basically on these goals. There's something to gain throughout that process. You are able to now really evaluate things that you have set for yourself and now have a real level of commitment behind what it is that you want to achieve. Because now you have a story behind each goal and you are able to appreciate the wins and be honest with your failures. Be real with yourself. And not take what you're writing out as a dream, as a hope, as a vision lightly. Like, writing your goals list is not just, oh, let me go ahead and write this list because everybody is talking about it. It's the end of the year and people getting ready for their vision boards. Let me go ahead and write mine out too. It's not as simple as that. It can be if you already had some things in mind, but if you're not putting real effort behind the development of that, there's no point in even trying to create a goals list. You really need a certain level of commitment and understanding as to what you're wanting to achieve for yourself. Again, be real with yourself. And really the beauty of it all is you will learn more about yourself. You will learn how you were able to push your own boundaries, be able to get out of your box and be able to get in uncomfortable situations in order to achieve some of the things that you have set out for yourself. You will also be able to share with others your experience. Going through this process, it may be a little bit different in terms of thinking about the goals that are not actually coming into fruition. By using this process, you are now able to share, okay, I know somebody else that's going through the same thing. Let me share with them some of the issues that I had with some of my goals because I see them repeating some of the same things that I was guilty of. So now you're able to, pass the torch. Help others achieve their goals, their happiness, and endless success. So embrace every moment throughout this process. Be intentional about what you're writing down as a goal. Embrace your success. Embrace the mistakes. And I wish you happy goal searching and being able to develop new ways in achieving some of the goals that have been a hindrance from your past. Hey there, Mediocre to Masterful is online. Visit mediocre-to-masterful.com to listen to our podcast or find us on iTunes. Share this episode with those you know in need of motivation. Through our site, you can join our Masterful email list to get freebies and helpful information. We're also on Instagram at Mediocre to Masterful and Twitter at M2Masterful. Thanks for listening.